Genocide. Woo! Coming live, first pay-per-view of 2026 for for any wrestling company that I watch specifically, because I don't watch AEW. And it's your boy Icon back in 2026 with a wrestling review for you. And we do have some other stuff coming up on my channel. I've actually been doing like season reviews for the show called Bringington. I'm going to put those on my channel before season 4 comes out. And then, we got Wonder Man coming up at the end of the year and some other stuff in the pipeline. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. But we're kicking this year off with the wrestling, with TNA wrestling, because I did say I was going to start reviewing some more TNA wrestling because TNA is actually, getting a good show. And it was a good show last night. I'm definitely glad that I got to watch it. And, we're back, baby. Pre-show matches are back. Definitely one of the things about TNA that I love is the fact that they actually do pre-show matches. And we had 2 of them on this particular show. So let's kick it off. Before we get started, hit that notification bell, like and or subscribe. Check out all my other videos up on my YouTube channel. And let's start off with the first pre-show match for Genesis 2026. So the first match is a fatal 4-way for the International Championship, and I'm glad they stopped putting women in this. KJ Orsho versus BDE versus EY Eric Young versus Stax Channing Lorenzo. So it's an NXT person with TNA Championship gold, but because of the Santino Marella tie-in, you might as well just say Stax and Ariana Grace are basically TNA wrestlers at this point. And I will say that now that Ariana Grace has turned heel, she's definitely looking way more attractive now that she dropped the whole like Princess Beauty pageant gimmick. So this was but this was what you would expect. It was I forgot Eric Young was even on the roster, but I'm glad because I miss Eric Young. Eric Young, watching Eric Young in this match made me kind of wish that this was a one-on-one match just to see Eric Young in action. And I feel like they could actually make some money out of Eric Young becoming TNA heavyweight champion, letting him run for a while as like a monster heel and being like a complete asshole. I was definitely a favor of that. BDE did, his typical high flying stuff. He was trying to live stream it as he was doing it. Ariana Grace took his phone at one point and threw it on the floor. But in the end, after everybody else did all the work and knocked out, I believe it was BDE, when they knocked him out, then Channy Stax, he jumped in the ring, he threw him out, he threw the guys out the ring, and then he got the cheap victory, he stole the victory, and then, after that, he celebrated. Billy Corgan, what is it? That's the, I think it's Billy Corgan, the owner, the president, whatever the hell he is. Channy kept telling him to put the belt around his waist and he kept putting it on his shoulder. So I don't know if that was just like a miscommunication of something that they were trying to do, or was he just really I'm not putting this shit on your waist, bro. That's not happening. But it was pretty interesting. I said Stax got the belt. See, the problem with Stax being champion is, I'm all for NXT wrestlers winning TNA gold because that gives you an opportunity to build up a TNA star to take that belt from him. The problem is the only person in this feud that's been set up to do that is Santino Marella. And I don't want Santino Marella to be the person to do that. That makes it weird. But maybe they'll, like I said, maybe like a new title person will emerge and, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I said, but Channing, he won the championship. He retained the championship. And we're moving on to the next one on Genesis. So the next matchup was a new pairing group of Robert Stone, Victoria Crawford, The Diamond, Tessa Blanchard, and was it Mila Moore, the new girl. And I actually have to say, I like them together. Watching them walk through the backstage, they were basically just being fucking assholes to people. Victoria Crawford kept sitting on everybody's lap and telling them to stop flirting with her, and they were treating other people like peasants, oh, get my coffee. Robert Stone was throwing cups on the floor and telling people to pick it up, and I'm just this is some really dirtbag shit. But for some reason I dig them together. And Mila Moore, she looks like an Amazon, she has that Amazon look. I'm fine with Tessa Blanchard at this point. I don't got a problem with Tessa Blanchard. Everybody gets a chance to redeem themselves. I wish they would do a little bit more with Victoria Crawford because I don't like the fact that she's just being used as a comedy act. But then the 3 of them they bumped into some new chick that backstage, and then the new chick was just like, hey, she's like, I'm new on the Knockouts roster. She was like, I'm just trying to, like make my way and everything. And then they tried to play her. They was like, why don't you take our bags, to our truck or something like that. And then Indy Hartwell showed up and she was like, no, we're not going to do that. She's like, we're not going to treat people like shit. And then they're just like, mind your business, Indy. And she's like, why don't you meet us in the ring tonight, on the pre-show. And, so now we got a second pre-show match with Indy Hartwell and this new girl versus the Tessa Blanchard crew, whatever we're calling them. And like I said, and the three of them, they came out wearing the same color. It's like they all came out wearing black, white, and red. So you definitely won cool points with me for that. Indy Hartwell's outfit looked a lot better than the last time I saw her wrestler. The thing with the new girl is the new girl's not doing it for me. Like, she looks like a jobber, and I think she needs to continue to improve her fitness a little bit more so she can look the part a little bit more. But I wasn't really impressed by what I saw in the ring either. She kind of just looks like a plain Jane, and but she's new, so she hasn't really gotten into her character yet. So that's fine, but I wasn't really impressed, based on what I saw. But but the funny thing is, the Elegance brand, along with Mr. Elegance, because the thing is, I felt that if Ash by Elegance had to retire because of whatever was going on with her medically, she should have been their manager. But if you already got the concierge, I guess you don't need two of them talking on their behalf. So, they had Ash by Elegance being one of the broadcasters, for the pre-show, and then they brought a guy into the mix. I still feel like the group needs a female leader. Like, they need a woman to come in. And I would say Ava Marie. Like, if Ava Marie came to TNA and she became the new leader of the Elegance brand, I would be perfectly fine with that. But the Elegance brand, after winning the titles off the Inspiration, they said that they weren't going to defend the titles tonight, but they were going to sit down and watch this tag team match. So they're sitting down watching the tag team match. There was a moment where the new girl was getting her ass whooped, and then there was some cheating going on by Victoria Crawford. Indy Hartwell came running around to try to stop Victoria Crawford from cheating. And she walked past the Elegance brand, because they were sitting down right in front of the ring. Indy accidentally stepped on one of the girl's feet, the tall one. She stepped on, I think it was like M by Elegance. She stepped on her foot, and then, M got up and got in Indy's face, and then they jumped Indy. They beat her ass, and then while the Elegance brand was beating up Indy Hartwell, the Tessa Blanchard's crew was beating up the new girl in the ring. Then they beat her ass and pinned her and got the 1, 2, 3. And like I said, I actually like this group together. Like, I think that they can do a lot of things with this group. And, like, Indy Hartwell's going to have to be the whooping girl for a while. But, I want to see where this goes. Like, I want to see where the three of them go. I hope at some point, Victoria Crawford actually wins some championship gold. But I like the group. I like them together. And I only see them breaking up if eventually the Moore girl decides that she's bigger than the group. And she's like, oh, I'm the young hot thing, and you're like the old broads. And she ends up breaking away that way. But until that happens, they're definitely better than Fatal Influence, because that country chick, and I'm not talking about Fallon Henley, that third country chick that they bought into Fatal Influence brought the stock down for that group drastically. This group is a lot better. They shine more. They look the part. So I'm definitely all for it, and I do want to see more of them going forward. So for the first match on the actual show, it was all about that money. I just want to be like, yeah. Shout out to Crown Time. AJ Francis versus Rich Swann. And kudos to AJ Francis for making a career for himself post WWE. That, even Swerve, like him and Swerve, even B-Fab, because B-Fab, she got released. They brought her back, and out of all 4 members of Hit Row, she's the only one that's actually still on WWE television, although she got injured recently. But, hopefully Ashante the Adonis will appear somewhere. But kudos to Hit Row for actually, for still being relevant in 3 different companies. He's like a cross wrestler. But he's going up against Rich Swann, and like I said, First Class. They're about to they're about to see who's going to stay in First Class and who's going to go to coach, because the two of them got beef and they're going one-on-one. Now, this is the classic big man versus little man. And, Rich Swann, although he was a former champion, I'm just like, bro, the size is overpowering. There was a cool moment during the match where AJ Francis picked up Rich Swann and did the Styles Clash, and which is funny because his name is AJ Styles, AJ Francis. The crowd booed him immediately. When he did that shit was funny. I started dying. And, but he hit the Styles Clash. It didn't work. But then after some, I mean, Rich Swann actually did hit like a Canadian destroyer at some point, but it didn't work. And on the pre-show, everybody on the panel was like, "Oh, we're picking Rich Swann. We want to see AJ Francis get his ass kicked." AJ Francis won the match, and honestly, he should have won the match because he's like 300 pounds heavier than like Rich Swann. So, and they need to push him. Like AJ Francis needs to either be going for like the X Division title or fighting. Like I would like to see AJ Francis versus Mike Santana, for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. So I'd definitely have to see that. But AJ Francis got a big win here, and we need to give him props for that. Like like I said, he's doing his thing. He's making a way for himself, and I enjoy it. So good luck. So good luck to him in his future, with TNA. And we're moving on to the next match. Then we had Elijah versus Order 4's Mustafa Ali. And I'm going to start by saying I love Tasha Steelz. I'm a fan of Tasha Steelz. To an extent, I have no problem with Tasha Steelz being in this group, though I do wish she would wrestle in the Knockouts division. I do like her being in this group. However, she's always been portrayed as like a street girl from the hood around the way with the baggy clothes and the headbands and all this yeah. Now that she's with Order 4, she's dressing more sophisticated, more classier. She's dressing more like a lady. Perfectly fine. If you're still going to do that, you cannot, when you get in the ring with your group, you cannot stand on the second rope with your legs spread wide open, pumping your fist. If we're going to commit to this, I need you to do more lady-like shit. I'm just saying. As in, I love me some Tasha Steelz. So they're fighting Elijah. And during the match, the other goons, the helping hands got involved. Agent Zero got involved. He got kicked out. Tasha Steelz got involved. And then Elijah, I guess he was going to hit her with a power driver. And there was like a wardrobe malfunction because she was wearing a halter top. And when he picked her up, he kind of like pulled her outfit up unintentionally. So we low key got got a wardrobe malfunction, but Mustafa Ali used that distraction to cheat and get the 1-2-3 victory. So Mustafa Ali wins the match against Elijah. No surprise there, and Mustafa Ali needs to win something because you cannot be in a group with all those people and not win something. He needs championship gold. He needs something. He needs to be in a feud with Mike Santana. That's two people now. You got AJ Francis and you got Mustafa Ali that could fight Mike Santana. Like, let's get it done. Let's get these guys out there. Let's put him on the forefront and get him out of the mid card to an extent. But like I said, can't complain. Good match, and we're moving on. Next up, we had Eddie Edwards and the System versus JDC, who is wrestling his very last match in TNA and in wrestling, period. I knew him as Fandango. So, I mean, he was Johnny Curtis, though, in FCW. I do remember when he was Johnny Curtis, but like I said, he's also Fandango. And it's sad. It's sad and cool at the same time. The problem is that aside from that, this match had no sizzle to it. Like, if he was fighting somebody that he had beef with for a very long time and people wanted to see him like whoop that person's ass and finally get his revenge or get his victory in his very last match, it would have had more appeal to it. But because you were kind of wrestling like your buddy and your buddy kind of didn't really want to put your lights out, but he had to and everything, there was a lot of like oomph that was just missing from the match. But I mean, it was still a good match. I can't lie about that. Even having the System come out together, and everything. It was just very kumbaya-ish. And then he did the Fandango dance for a little bit. He said that, after talking with his wife, he had to give it up. He was holding his knee a lot during the match. So I don't know if he has like a legitimate injury or something. And his wife just told him like to hang it up. Because the thing is, he never really seemed like he really wanted to retire. It almost comes across as like, hey, I got hurt one day. My wife has a problem with it. She told me to retire, so I retired. But with that being said, he's still retired. He lost the match. Eddie Edwards hit the Boston Knee Party. He did the JOB on the way out, which does nothing for Eddie Edwards. And he was celebrated at the top of the ramp by his friends, his peers, his family, and all the fans that came to see him off. So, and it was cool. They did say that on AMC, they were going to announce a new member of the System. I don't know why we need a new member of the System. If we do get a new member of the System, I hope it's a girl. But, because Because Eddie Edwards and Briggs, the other one, they could be in a tag team. Moose can go for singles gold, and then have another girl in there so Alicia can do something with somebody. But hey, but we'll see who the person is. Like I said, no TNA's on AMC right now. And to all the people that were complaining, saying that the AMC show wasn't that great of a show, they did that show 2 days before their pay-per-view. Like, what were y'all really expecting? Like, were you really expecting them to give you the greatest show of all time on AMC and then ask you to pay money for a pay-per-view that's going to be dry now because you wasted all the good shit on on the AMC show? It would make more sense to just, I mean, to be honest with you, they should have did their first ever AMC show. It should have happened after the pay-per-view, not before. But they decided to do it before, and it's like it was what it needed to be. Like, again, why would if it's 2 days before a pay-per-view, why would you give us the greatest show of all time for free and then ask people to pay for something like 2 days later? That doesn't make sense to me. But but JDC, like, kudos to him. Like I said, I remember his career. It would have been nice if Summer Rae was in the audience, to say goodbye. But, there's really nothing much we can say about that. It is what it is, and we're moving on. Next up, we had Mara Sade versus Ryan Nemeth. And I love Mara Sade. I think TNA needs to push Mara Sade. She needs to be one of the focal points. Like, put that girl in, give that girl the Knockouts title. For the love of God, make a women's mid-card championship. Mara Sade needs to be pushed front and center on TNA Wrestling. I'm still not 100% okay with men versus women, though. For the simple fact of, if you're going to have men versus women, it only works if the man is like a cruiserweight type guy. You cannot have Mara Sade versus Moose. Like, that doesn't, like, you're not going to be able to make people believe that the woman can actually, overcome the size and the strength of the man, unless you use like the smaller guys where you can kind of get away with it. And with that being said, during the match, Ryan Nemeth was throwing her around anyway. So, and this was just in response to the fact that she's been super kicking him for like the last 2 months. But the thing that killed me at the end, first of all, he was cheating. And I'm like, you don't have to cheat to beat Mara Sade. You cheated. Second of all, he hit her with a drop kick off the top rope. She fell, landed on the apron. My man pulled the tights, the jeans, the socks, like the shoestrings. He grabbed the rope. Her leg was in the rope, was in the bottom rope. Her leg was in the bottom rope. He grabbed the bottom rope and locked her leg into it. Then he grabbed all the drawers and pulled. And I'm like, how's the referee not seeing this? How do you grab every single part of this woman's body to roll her up for a pin, and the ref just doesn't see this? Bro, her entire left side of her body was in the ropes. And I was like, he should have won, but it's like shit like that is like, now I have no respect for Ryan Nemeth. Like, thank you. But, I am happy that Mara Sade was on the pay-per-view, but she needs to wrestle one of the girls, and she needs to fight for a championship. Like, that's what she needs to do. So get her out, like I said, get her out of the mid card. Well, this isn't even the mid card. Get her out of this weird card. Get her out of this weird shit. And then, God, I hope they're not dating in real life. But, I mean, it is what it is. It was a man versus woman match. So, 9 times out of 10, the woman's not going to win it. Like I said, I'm still a fan of hers, and I can't wait to see what they actually do with her now that we're kicking it off on the AMC network era. Next up, some gold on the line. Finally, Ling Lang Lee. I still call her Xia Li. Lang Lee versus Zara. And, oh, Lord. So, it's not a secret. I'm not a fan of Zaruka. Zara's whole participation in their friendship or their group is pathetic because she doesn't actually do anything for herself. All she does is just follow Sol Ruka around and just kisses her ass like a lovesick puppy. And it's very sad and pathetic. I think Sol Ruka is a great talent, but I do feel like the internet overrates her just because she has a nice finish. And without that finish, she's basically just a really good wrestler, which is why I call her the one-trick pony. I was a fan of Ling Lang Lee since the Mae Young Classic when she was Xia Li. So anybody that's a fan of hers now, I was calling it when she was in the Mae Young Classic and she had the short haircut and the red dress. I was like, yo, that girl's going to be a champion. And I was right. And I'm glad I was right. So in this match, and then she had her little sidekick too in Xia Brookside, who came out with a cowboy hat. Everybody came out with a cowboy hat, and it's just like, okay, we get it. It's not entertaining. But I will say this. When the match started, first of all, they did a very good job because this was a championship match. They did a very good job of making it feel like a big fight. Like they did like, you know, the measurements, like how many championships they won, what their height, the weight, this, that, and the third. It actually looked like a real, you know, like boxing, like heavyweight MMA fight. But then when the whole thing gets started, they show the video package. When Zara's on her way to ringside, they show her video package and she's like walking throughout the desert and standing on rocks and everything. And I'm like, where the hell has this girl been? I'm like, because all we're getting is the, oh my God, I love you, Soul. I love you, Soul. Can I carry your bag, Soul? Do you need me to lick your boots, Soul? Can I wash your drawers, Soul? And then I'm like, when you look at the video package, she's like this destructive beast, this monster. I'm like, where the fuck is this person? Where has this person been? And with that being said, it was a really good match. The two of them put on like a really good match. Like I enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm a fan of Langley. Like, you know, I was interested in Zara before they ruined her character, and I thought it was a good match. The Elegance brand did show up again for the second time tonight because Zaruka, they're supposed to be involved in a number one contenders tag match. So they did have, you know, the two of them did show up. Like they showed up and then, you know, they caused some interference, and then Xia Brookside and Sol Ruka, like they took them out and then you didn't see them anymore. And then Zara basically like almost slapped the shit out of the referee like in order to wake her up. Then there was some hard hitting action, but in the end, Lee actually got her up on her shoulders and then, you know, like hit her finish. And I was surprised that she actually got her up, and then, you know, she dropped her, hit her with the 1, 2, 3. And I love Ling Lee as champion. Like I love her as champion. She's perfect in this role. And, you know, I look forward to see how far she can take this division with the Knockouts division. Like, she's come a long way since the Mae Young Classic, and I'm definitely happy for her. And I'm happy to see, you know, like where she's gone. And then after that, the two of them shook hands. And then after they shook hands, Elena Black's music played. The artist formerly known as Cora Jade. She should have came to TNA as Cora Black. And when she came out, she didn't say anything. She just made it be known that she's coming for the Knockouts Championship. The Knockouts, they need a secondary title that's not a tag team title. And that was basically it. So the girl hasn't actually said anything yet. So we're still waiting for Elena Black to speak. So out of all the girls that got fired from WWE, so far only Mara Sade, Jakara Jackson, and Elena Black, Cora Jade, they're the only ones that actually made the jump to TNA. I mean, I don't know if any of them went to AEW. I know one half of the Party Girls is on AEW, Lacey Lane, but aside from her, I don't know anybody else that did the jump. I'm actually glad that Elena Black did go to TNA because I think that's the better place for her. I wish Bobby Lashley was in TNA. I wish the Hurt Business was in TNA, but like I said, but it was a good championship match. You know, like the right outcome, and now Zol Ruka has to lick their wounds, and now they have to desperately cling on to tag team championship gold when we see them next time on wrestling television. Next up, we had the TNA World Tag Team Championships. The Hardy Boys versus the Righteous, whoever the hell they are. And honestly, like, what am I supposed to say about this? Like, the Righteous, they're a rando tag team. Like, the Hardys are the most over act in TNA right now. Like, the Hardys are like the top. Why would the Hardys lose to the Righteous? They didn't even do anything to establish. I mean, yeah, like he put a lock on his ear, but the Hardy, like when there's a tag team that's being established as like the next big thing, we'll see it coming. The Righteous was not put in that position, and the Hardys beat them as they should. And the Righteous just made it seem like they wanted to lose, and they were happy to just be in the ring with the Hardys. I mean, it was nice to see the Hardy Boys, but I'm like, I don't know what I was really supposed to say about this. The Hardy Boys retained the TNA Tag Team Championships as they should have, and we're moving on to the next match. Triple threat action followed, and the way the story goes, Leon Slater conveniently had visa issues while he was overseas with WWE, and he couldn't come back to do his obligated X Division Championship match against Moose and Cedric Alexander. Coincidence? I think not. But instead, they did a little trade-off where AJ Styles made an appearance on their AMC debut show, and then Leon Slater because he was overseas with WWE anyway. He got to wrestle Carmelo Hayes for the United States Open Challenge. And then Joe Hendry, who was in the States, he got to take Leon Slater's place, and it became a triple threat match between Cedric Alexander, Moose, Moose, and Joe Hendry. Now they said that Moose and Cedric Alexander would get their X Division championship rematches or matches at some point when all the visa stuff gets taken care of. But until then, this is basically just a fanfare match. It's just like, let's just give the fans something. And having Joe Hendry was good because when Joe Hendry, because I didn't know he officially signed with NXT. Like he's officially like a WWE superstar. Like my whole thing is I'm like, when did he leave TNA? They didn't even announce that he left TNA. One day he was like on TNA, then he was on NXT, then he was on TNA, then he was on NXT, and then they were just like, yeah, he's just here now. Like we're gonna keep him. So he never actually got like an official farewell from TNA. So I guess this was his farewell from TNA. During the match, Moose took a backdrop on the steps, and they said that he's had a career of back issues. And because of his career of back issues, he was down for the count. The referee even threw up the X sign, and they wanted you to believe that Moose was not going to participate, and it was going to be a one-on-one match between Cedric Alexander and Joe Hendry. The problem is, I've been watching wrestling long enough to the point where I'm like, if you're throwing up the X sign and if Moose is really that injured, why is he still on the floor? So it's just like he's going to come back at one point. And he did. He came back and he was just like, I'm Moose, damn it. It's like, y'all can't do this to me. He fought with the back problems. And the whole time, like once he got back in the ring, in my mind, I was just like, once he takes that lumbar check, it gets a wrap. Cedric Alexander was the second person tonight that did a Styles clash. So we are foreshadowing the bejesus out of AJ Styles. And he hit the lumbar check on Moose, and after he hit the lumbar check on Moose, Joe Hendry came in, hit Cedric, who did gain weight. Like Cedric's looking a little thicker these days. Joe Hendry, he hit the choke slam on Cedric Alexander, got the 1-2-3. And I also want to add, on the pre-show, you had 2 white guys and 2 blonde girls on the pre-show. They previewed this match. They said it was going to be Cedric Alexander versus Moose versus Joe Hendry. So in a panel where there's 2 white dudes and 2 blonde girls, none of them picked Moose or Cedric Alexander. Like they all went with Joe Hendry. And I'm just like, that tells you a lot. But Joe Hendry, like I said, but to me, I just took at it as this was Joe Hendry's like official farewell, to TNA. Because even when it was over, they were like, what does the future have in store for Joe Hendry as he makes his WWE journey and blah, blah, blah. So I was just like, so for that, like, I'm cool with that, because I said the boy never really got like a farewell before. So, hats off to him. I hope Moose actually is legitimately okay, because like I'm a Moose fan, and we'll see what happens. At least he didn't take the pin this time, but we'll see what happens when they let Leon Slater back in the country and we can finally fight for the X Division Championship. And finally, for the TNA Heavyweight Championship, it was Frankie Kazarian in a rematch against Mike Santana with Nick Nemeth as the special guest referee. And if Nick Nemeth didn't use his call the shot battle, trophy thing at some point in this match, there was really no point in him even being there. I was a little uninterested in the match, not because of the participants, because I like both guys, but the problem is they just gave us this match literally 2 days ago on Thursday on AMC. So I'm just like 2 days later, now we're seeing the rematch. And it was basically like a garbage match with a last man standing, stipulation on it. So I mean, it was very brutal. It was definitely very brutal. I mean, like, it was a decent match. At the end, Mike Santana did a spin the block with his arm wrapped in barbed wire, and he pinned Frankie Kazarian to retain the TNA Heavyweight Championship. Nick Nemeth raised his hand, and then he dropped him, and then he tried to call his shot. Mike Santana spanned the block on him and prevented him from calling his shot. So Mike Santana has exercised his demons of being able to hold on to a championship, and he is officially the champion, but Nick Nemeth still has that trophy. They also announced that on Thursday we're doing Feast or Fired, where four people have the opportunity to win a briefcase. Three of those people will have a championship match, and the fourth person basically has a pink slip because they're going to get fired. Now I'm trying to figure out who on the roster's contract is coming up to see who's going to get fired. But to do the Feast or Fire, where I understand you can get a shot against the heavyweight champion. Another briefcase, you get a shot at the X Division champion. Another one, you get a shot at the tag team champion. Or what about the international championship? Like, that should play so it's like, do we have 5 briefcases now? And if we're going to do the whole thing where it's basically Money in the Bank and you get a Money in the Bank, briefcase, what's the difference between Feast or Fired and Call Your Shot? It's basically both the same thing. Like, Call Your Shot and Feast or Famine, it's basically you fighting for a Money in the Bank briefcase. So it's like you have 2 of the same gimmick, but the added thing is that somebody actually they think they won something cool and they do get fired. So somebody on TNA is going to get fired on Thursday, basically, which means someone's contract is up and they're probably going to go to AEW, unless it's someone that WWE wants to snatch up, and I don't understand who that might be. But that was it. That was how the pay-per-view ended, and thank you for tuning in. It was definitely a good show. I mean, I give the show like a 7.5. Like I said, a lot of the championship matches, like the Hardy match, we knew wasn't going to happen. The travel issues, were a problem, so we didn't get to see an X Division title match. I do appreciate the fact that we do have 2 pre-show matches, but like I said, it was a solid, honestly, this is the show that we should have got on Thursday, and it was at the end, it wasn't like Thursday was a decent show. This pay-per-view was really good. I enjoyed it. The problem is they should not have had both of them so close together. The AMC debut should have been this Thursday after the pay-per-view, not 2 days before it. But but other than that, TNA will be fine. We'll see what happens with all the new wrestlers, all the new signees, and I look forward to reviewing it and reviewing their pay-per-views with all of you. So check out my other reviews. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll look forward to some more stuff. Like I said, because I got some stuff coming up in 2026, maybe some more fashion stuff, some early fashion show stuff that we got coming up for you guys. I said, as well as some TV and movie reviews for all of you. So check it out right here on Red Eyes Entertainment. So that was it, guys. So thanks for tuning in for some more TNA Genesis action. Let's spin the block on them in 2026. And until next time, we're out this. Yeah!